The latest rounds of the FIA Formula 3
désigné par justement un soleil qui devrait apparaître dans le courant de l'après-midi et rester avec nous jusqu'à dimanche soir. Chers amis spectateurs, prenez place devant l'écran vidéo géant.
Back as far as the start of the last century, but in terms of the first running of the event, the official running of the event, it was back in 1933. Formula 1 cars, Formula 2 cars, Formula 3000 and various other Formula have all been here, but it's Formula 3 these days that take the headline. And there you'll see the starting grid for the first race of the weekend, and with his maiden pole position, it's the British driver Jake Dennis for Prema Power Team that's going to be starting not just this race but all three races this weekend from pole position. He was quickest in the wet, he was quickest in the dry, and he is out, no doubt about it, this weekend for his first win in the championship in what is his second season in European F3 competition. So the drivers are on the track ready to go for the first of three races this weekend. The winner of the Pau Grand Prix title will be the winner of the third race of the weekend, so the big one tomorrow, but all the rounds count towards the championship. We've been to Silverstone, we've been to Hockenheim, we've had three different winners already, a pair of wins apiece for Antonio Giovinazzi, Charles Leclerc and Felix Rosenqvist. But could we have a fourth different winner, and could it be this man on pole position? Jake Dennis set a time in the wet yesterday of 1 minute 21.795 seconds. He was about 3/4 of a second quicker than anybody else. Because there are so many cars in this championship, 36 cars, and because it's such a tight circuit, they split the qualifying up into sessions, 2 sessions. You had 2 groups for each of the qualifying sessions, odd numbers and even numbers, and whichever group had the fastest driver in, then they would get pole, and 3rd, 5th, 7th on the grid, so the odd side of the grid. The fastest driver in the slowest group, if you like, would start 2nd, with the next drivers in that group starting 4th, 6th and 8th and so on. And that was the driver that was quickest in the other group, Charles Leclerc, the Monogas driver for Van Amersfoort Racing. It's the 5th time this season that he started from the front row of the grid. Not bad for a rookie, and although he is a rookie for Formula 3, this is not the first time he's been to this circuit. So he and George Russell, 2 rookies that are a little bit familiar with this street circuit because they raced here in Formula Renault last season. And in fact, he got on the podium in one of the races here last year in the Formula Renault Alps Series with a 2nd place finish, did Charles Leclerc. He is also a race winner this year, won a race at Silverstone, won a race at Hockenheim after a fabulous move to overtake the pole sitter Felix Rosenqvist there. That's Max Gunther, who had a very good Hockenheim last time out. He was in the top 5 in all 3 races in the second round of the championship in Germany. Although he'll be kicking himself because in the last race of the weekend, he was on for 3rd place. He went on to the final lap of the race and he spun it away. So he ended up down in 5th place, just missing out on an overall podium. But Max Gunther for Muka Motorsport, one of the Mercedes-powered cars, going well here in 3rd place. He was actually the driver that set the 2nd fastest time because of the way they split the groups and divide up the grid. He ends up 3rd here, but he actually set the 2nd fastest time, 1:22.581. There is the championship leader, Antonio Giovinazzi, the Italian for the Jagonia IAM with Carlin team. Jagonia IAM in partnership with Carlin, Indonesian chicken takeaway manufacturer, and he has had a very good season so far. He's the only driver to finish in the points in every single race so far. Not only that, he's been on the podium in every single race so far, albeit he only looked into it right at the end after Gunther had that spin at Hockenheim, because he was the one who was 4th. He got promoted to 3rd. Another rookie, there are 19 of them in this championship this season. That's Callum Ilott, the British driver with the very successful Carlin team, also powered by VW. And he's had 4 points finishes so far, a best of 5th place coming at Hockenheim last time out. He's only 16 years of age and backed by the Red Bull junior team. There's another one with Formula 1 eyes upon him. That's Alex Albon, who's backed by the Lotus Formula 1 junior programme. Born and lives in the UK, but a Thai national, and he's with the French signature team. And he's currently 2nd in the rookie standings. Didn't have such a good Hockenheim, but he was particularly good in the races that we had in the first round of the championship at Silverstone, in the top 6 in all 3 races there. Another rookie, Alessio Larandi, the Italian, fresh from karting, first season in cars, and he's hopped straight up to this incredibly competitive championship in the European Championship. This is his best grid so far this season. First time here, did an exceptional job on what is a very difficult circuit. It's a street circuit, there is no give, no room for error, and it requires huge commitment around some of the corners. It's a fairly short lap, but it is filled with trickery. And he did very well to qualify 7th. Mikkel Jensen's having a good season so far. Another rookie, 4th last time out at Hockenheim. Race at Hockenheim when his teammate Max Gunther spun out, but Mikkel Jensen, the Danish driver, who was the German Formula Masters champion last year with 9 wins, coming into Formula 3 for the first time this season. There you can see 9th on the grid. That's George Russell. So he's, apart from the drivers that raced in the championship last year, he's one of the others, like Charles Leclerc, who has raced here before, because as well as winning the Formula 4 championship, the BRDC Formula Championship, he also raced in the Formula Renault Alp Series last year and finished 4th in one of the 2 races here at Pau. Different car, more power to him now, but still getting used to it. And a glimpse there of Arjun Maini as the grid is cleared. Another of the Van Amersfoort drivers who all did well in that wet qualifying session yesterday. He's yet to score any points, Arjun Maini, but the top 10 will score points in the race, and the Indian driver going well. This is his best grid so far. He got a couple of 13th places on the grid at Hockenheim. This is easily his best qualifying performance so far. And Arjun Maini was the driver who was 2nd in the BRDC, the British Racing Drivers Club Formula 4 Championship last year, behind George Russell. So those two who've come up from that junior category next to each other on the grid for this, the 7th round of the championship. So they head off onto the lap. Our first chance to take a look at the lap here, the Pau Grand Prix. Some great names have raced here in the past, back in the days when Formula 2 was the headline in the 60s, 70s and 80s. You had the likes of Jack Brabham, Jackie Stewart and Jochen Rindt. Jochen Rindt won 3 times here. Jackie Stewart was a winner in 1968. Emerson Fittipaldi, Jack Brabham, they've all raced here, as you can have a look at the full grid there. Juan Manuel Fangio won the Pau Grand Prix back in the late 1940s, in 1949. Jean Alesi, who's presenting some of the trophies at the end of the race, the ex-Formula 1 racer, when he raced in Formula 3000. It was his first Formula 3000 win here at Pau back in 1989. Juan Pablo Montoya has raced here. Lewis Hamilton raced here in the Euro F3 Open Championship. And in recent times, Raffaele Marcello won in 2012. Formula Renault headlined in 2013, but last year the winner of the Pau Grand Prix was Felix Rosenqvist, the Swedish driver, who is 3rd in the championship, has had 2 wins, 2 seconds. He got booted out of qualifying at Silverstone for a technical infringement, which is a little bit unlucky, but rules are rules. He had to start in the back for 2 of the races at Silverstone, otherwise he might be higher in the championship. But he had what he described yesterday as his worst ever qualifying session in both sessions, because there were 2 qualifying sessions. The one in the wet set the grid for this one. The dry session, which was held in the early evening yesterday, set the grid for the 2 following races. So this afternoon's race, each driver's fastest lap time, and tomorrow's race, each driver's 2nd fastest lap time. He didn't have a particularly good first 2 races here last year at Pau, but he did manage to qualify in the front row of the grid for the Grand Prix race on the Sunday, and he went and won that one. It's only winning the championship last year. Won at Macau as well. Wins the big races, but Felix Rosenqvist in the number 1 car, switching to Prema Power Team this year. The team who have their man, Jake Dennis, on pole position. He's back in 14th place on the grid for this one. And it being a street circuit, it is not going to be the easiest place to try and march your way through the field. He had some exceptional drives at Silverstone, particularly race 2, where he came from the very back of the grid up to 7th place, but I think it's unlikely he'll be able to do that here. All he'll try and do is get in the points. Felix Rosenqvist won the big one, but really his mind is all on winning the championship this year, having been a runner-up in it, having been in it for several seasons now. He's got to win the championship, and it's not just about winning the big race tomorrow, it's about scoring points in all 3 races this weekend. So on pole position for the first time in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, Jake Dennis there to the right of the picture, backed by the Racing Steps Foundation, who've really helped to support his career since, I think it's 2008 now. They've been supporting him for a long time as he rose up through the ranks of the Formula Renault Euro Cup, into Steps before that in the UK, and for the last 2 seasons now, Formula 3. 3rd in the rookie standings last year, behind the eventual rookie champion and overall champion Esteban Ocon, who's moved into GP3 and is already a race winner in that, winning at Barcelona. He's here this weekend actually, Esteban Ocon, doing some demonstration laps in the Formula E car. But the green flag is waved at the back of the field and we're ready to go racing. Round 7 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The first race here at Pau gets underway. Tremendous start from Jake Dennis. He's going to get the lead of the race. And look at the yellow Chiconia IAM car of Antonio Giovinazzi. He's made a brilliant start. He's going to try and squeeze past Charles Leclerc here into Lagarde for the first time, and it's wheel to wheel still. Leclerc has to get off the gas, and the Italian comes through. Tremendous start then for Giovinazzi from third to second. Leclerc wants this back though, and he's hunting him up the hill now as they go for the first time into the left-hander here at Pont Oscar, under the bridge at Oscar. And then it's a very undulating circuit. This is a huge climb up from that first corner to this, the second corner. They have to squeeze their way through here. Very, very tight corner that down in second gear. First gear then for the right-hander at Lisi Barto. And then they really build up the speed. Flat out through the next left-hand kink. It will be through Casino into the right-hander there. Very quick corner in fifth gear as well as they exit that right-hander at Park Beaumont. And then they're now coming downhill, weaving their way downhill. Predominantly in third gear here before they work their way down towards the tight hairpin, right-hand hairpin, which is down to first gear. And it's kind of single file through here. They flick their way through the chicane at the bottom of this hill, and they really thud the curbs. You have to be aggressive here, but you have to carry the speed out of the corners, and already they will come through to complete the first lap of the race. So in dry conditions, you're looking at about a 1 minute 10 second lap. We're going to get a replay here of further down the order. Bit of contact, one of the Muka Motorsport cars there squeezed into the wall, and it was the American driver Santino Ferrucci, who went very well in the wet qualifying session yesterday. He's a bit of a wet weather specialist, but hopefully not too much damage to the car, but squeezed into the wall there. Not enough room as they come into Pont Oscar here in the midfield for the second time in the race. Jake Dennis had a half-second lead at the end of the first lap of the race, then Giovinazzi second, Charles Leclerc in third, Max Gunther fourth, Alex Albon with a good start up to fifth place, Callum Ilott in sixth, Alessio Lorandi seventh, Mikkel Jensen eighth, George Russell ninth, Brendan Mazzano 10th, Arjun Maini down to 11th, Lance Stroll 12th at the end of the first lap of the race. So fantastic stuff from Jake Dennis. He's had a couple of difficult starts actually so far this season. He had his first ever stall in a car in one of the races at Silverstone, and then at Hockenheim the car wouldn't start at all in one of the races on the formation lap, so he had to start that one from the pit lane and try and work his way through. But he has also had some very good starts. That was one of them, one of the races at Hockenheim. I think it was the first race of the weekend at Hockenheim. On a wet track, he went from 6th to 3rd off the line and through the first couple of corners. So Jake Dennis has never been higher than 3rd on the grid before. That came this season. He never got into the top 3 in qualifying at all last year in his first season of the championship. Finished in the top 10 in the points though, 3rd best rookie. But it's the qualifying that he's really needed to work on and get that sorted, particularly here this weekend. And my goodness, he did that, not just getting his maiden pole position, as I say, but he's got all 3 of them this weekend. And if anywhere is important to get qualifying, it is somewhere like this, the Norris Ring, where it's not that easy to overtake. And he hooked the start up. Giovinazzi had a mega start, didn't need to get into 2nd place. So he's trying to keep this run of 100% record of podium finishes going, and he's in 2nd place at the moment. Charles Leclerc there in 3rd. So Giovinazzi leads the championship with 106 points coming into this weekend. He's 5 points clear of Charles Leclerc. Those two are running in the top 3. Felix Rosenqvist is 3rd on 92 points, and Jake Dennis, who leads the race here, is 4th, but quite a long way back. He's only got 46 points, so a couple of wins here will do very nicely indeed, thank you. He's been a race winner in Intersteps and Formula Renault. I'm sure the nerves would have been there, but he's very, very focused this weekend. He got into the car, I noticed yesterday in the 2nd qualifying session, although he wasn't out until the 2nd group. He got into the car, he was one of the first drivers to get into the car as they were being assembled up. I think he was in the car, helmet on, 25 minutes before he was actually due to go on the track. So Jake, an Eton-based driver, looking very strong here. This was a circuit where he went exceptionally well last year. It's his best weekend of the 2014 season. He got a podium finish here, finished 4th in the other 2 races. And although he did get a couple of other podiums last year, this was in total his best weekend of the season, the place where he picked up the most points. So he loves the place. Big grin on his face when he was talking to me about it yesterday. Alessio Lorandi gave me a really good talk through the lap as well, and some of the challenges of the lap. And bearing in mind the rookies as well, those that haven't been here before anyway, they only really got dry running in that 20-minute session yesterday evening because the free practice sessions were rain affected. The first qualifying session was wet. It was only at sort of 6 o'clock yesterday evening that they got their first taste of driving this track in the dry. So drivers like Lorandi were getting quicker and quicker and quicker. There are the top three then, making their way through Pont Oscar, through that left-hander and up towards this first gear hairpin at Lisi Barto. Full lock around there, Lorandi was telling me yesterday. Really old, full lock, just about getting round the corner. It's a really, really tight hairpin. Through that left-hand kink, it is flat in fifth gear, building up speed. It's flat here as well, and they don't brake for this right-hander at Park Beaumont. This is one of those sections where you need huge commitment and bravery, and Alessio Lorandi was saying that was where I need to get a bit more confident as I get more and more laps in, because you don't brake into that one, it's just a slight lift, and he said that's where the experienced guys, it's that sort of part of the course where they'll be able to make up the ground and the time difference on the others. Over the bumps, it's very bumpy here as well, so in terms of setting up the cars, you have a much softer suspension, and it's all to do with downforce. Not really worried about straights. There aren't too many straights here, not even as many as at Macau. So the top three go through. They're kind of bunched up together, but nobody's really pressurising anybody else at the moment. Then you've got a 2-second gap back to Max Gunther and Alex Albon, who are now 4th and 5th. Callum Ilott rounding out the top 6. Lorandi looking for his first points of the season, the Italian driver in 7th place, the former junior world karting champion. And how is Felix Rosenquist getting on? He's not really moved forward at all. He's still stuck in 14th place, which is where he started. So the driver 3rd in the championship, out of the points at the moment. They've all pretty much behaved so far, though, haven't they? Apart from that little tap and kiss of the barrier from Ferrucci. They've very much behaved themselves through the first few laps of the race. It'll be a 29-lap race, all 35 minutes. That's the time limit, whichever comes first. There have been races here last year, certainly, where the safety car slowed things up. We've got problem there, I'm afraid, for the number 11 car. Has had damage. Spoke too soon, didn't I? That's Fabian Schiller, the German driver, one of the Team Westtech cars. The second group yesterday in qualifying had, I think, 2 red flags. Might have been 3, actually. And lots of drivers making contact there. What happened? He tried to go, well, kind of go around the outside there of Sam McLeod in the Castrol-backed car, the number 36 car. And that was all a bit odd, really. Maybe you just didn't see that McLeod was there, but McLeod was certainly on the inside line and had got fully alongside him by the looks of things. So Fabian Schiller out. Yeah, that session that Jake Dennis managed to top in the dry yesterday, it was there were a couple of red flags and 3 cars off in total, and 2 of them were the Westtech cars. So Fabian Schiller went off in the dry in qualifying yesterday. Good to see him getting out of the car, looks to be absolutely fine. And hopefully far enough off the racing line that they'll be able to recover that without bringing out the safety car. Looks like that's the case. There go the top 3. I suppose really what's more important than the times in the wet yesterday was how they fared in the dry. Well, in the dry qualifying session, Jake Dennis was quickest, but not by much, only by 1/10 of a second. Now that was the other driver that was involved in that incident. He's clearly taken on damage, Sam McLeod, with the Motor Park team there, who are not a new team, but new to this championship Motor Park. So they're 2 drivers, both rookies, trying to learn the circuit. The team is trying to learn the setup of the circuit as well at Motor Park, because they haven't been here before either. Looks like a change of nose to that car, so that one's going to be back out fairly soon. It's going to be at the back of the field. Didn't have a particularly good grid for this race, but Sam McLeod went well in the dry qualifying session yesterday, set the 11th fastest time. So perhaps more to come from Sam, the Edinburgh-based driver who raced in British Formula 3 last year, finished in 4th place, was a race winner in that. Race winner in the Toyota Racing Series over the winter as well, and has got some Formula 3 experience because he raced in the German F3 Championship last year, finished 4th in that one. So Sam going back out. There's the race leader. Jake Dennis, as I say, was quickest in the dry and the wet, but he was only quickest by about 1/10 of a second in the dry yesterday from Charles Leclerc. He did a 1:10.2 and a 1:10.3 respectively. A 1:10.6 for Max Gunther. He was the 3rd quickest in the dry. Giovinazzi was 4th quickest in the dry. Marcus Pommer damaged his wishbone in the first session. The German driver had to start this one right at the back of the field. But he's one to watch later in the weekend because he was 5th quickest in the dry. Arjun Maini went well yesterday, 6th quickest in the dry. And in the dry, Felix Rosenquist not particularly quick either, 10th in that one. So he's not got good grids at all this weekend for any of the races. And he's still, as far as I can see on the timing screen, stuck down in 14th place. So Jake Dennis leads by just under half a second from Antonio Giovinazzi. Charles Leclerc is 3rd, And the leading rookie driver, Max Gunther, is 4th, second best rookie. Alex Albon in 5th. The top 10 on the grid, 8 of them at the start of this race were rookies, which shows you what quality we've got. Obviously last year was really all about 2 rookies. The one that won the championship, Esteban Ocon, the French driver. And I suppose most of the headlines really coming about the sensational season for Max Verstappen. Now, of course, already a point scorer in Formula 1 at the tender age of 17 just about. Crashed out of the Pau Grand Prix here last year after they made contact with each other off the start line. And a few laps into the race, Max crashed out of the race with damage. So it was all about those 2 superstar rookies last year, but I'd say the strength in depth this year of the rookies is even better because there are so many of them, more than half the field are rookies, and they're going well again, the likes of Leclerc and Gunther, Alex Albon impressing, and certainly at Silverstone, and certainly so far here this weekend. Callum Ilott, George Russell, of course a race winner already. He's 5th in the championship, but he won at Silverstone. So we've had Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Rosenqvist and George Russell as race winners this season. Perhaps about to get a 5th with Jake Dennis heading the way here and controlling things at the head of the field. He's just grown the gap slightly to 0.6 of a second. Tight battle going on for 8th place by the looks of things between Mikkel and Jensen, the Danish driver, George Russell, and Brandon Mazzano, the French driver. They are 8th, 9th and 10th. And about 0.2 of a second behind them trying to get into the points is another rookie, the Canadian Lance Stroll, who won the Italian Formula 4 Championship last year. Jake Dennis, you can see the gap is growing, isn't it? He's starting to get his head down here, and looks like he's just pulling away. He was 0.2 quicker on the last lap than Giovinazzi. Giovinazzi, in turn, has given himself a bit of breathing space over that man. Let's have a look at the gap. It, has kind of doubled, hasn't it? I think it's going to be bigger than that when they cross the line next time as well. So over 0.2 of a second per lap. The gap seems to be growing at the moment. Flying through the field then, drivers trying to make their way up through the order. That's the number 27 machine at one of the Mikkel Motorsport cars there, the head of that group, which is Mikkel Jensen. This is the battle I was talking about, with George Russell lining up a move here, but it's going to be on the outside line for Pont Oscar. If he can keep his foot in, though, he might just have the inside line for the right-hander at the top of the hill. No, he won't. So I think he was trying to line up a move on the run into Lisi Bartho there. Instead, the line is covered. It's pretty tricky to pass through there. And trying to get his way through. Those two are pushing each other on now for 8th and 9th. Brandon Mazzano is busy trying to fend off Lance Stroll in the number 25 machine, and another of the Prema Power Team cars. So good battle going on here at the edge of the points. See how they clatter the curbs. And apparently, Laurenti was telling me, it's better, no, it was Marcus Pomley was telling me yesterday, it's better to absolutely clatter the curbs at full speed than it is to go over them slowly. So if you do it behind a safety car on a slowing down lap, then there's a huge amount of force and drop on the chassis. But if you whip over them at speed, you just kind of clip over them, and there's not too much stress on the suspension and the chassis. And apparently, even in the wet, I think you probably stay off the curbs in the wet, but even in the wet, they really have to take quite a lot of curb. There's the race order. Top 8 there. Randy looking for his first points in 7th. Jensen more concerned with George Russell. They're 8th and 9th. Mazzano in the final points-paying position at the moment. In 10th place, Brandon Mazzano, who has already picked up 4-point scoring finishes this year. So he knows how to bring some points out of the car. Look at this battle that's going on here. That's Felix Rosenqvist, then number 1, trying desperately to get 13th place away from the yellow Jagonio IAM car of Gustavo Meneses, the American driver. That's the battle for 13th place. And our first real glimpse of Felix Rosenqvist, but you can see that he's been frustrated. Safety car is coming out for the first time this weekend. I wonder if it'll be the last. Kind of doubt it. There's the Alpha, the safety car comes out, but for why? Who have we lost? Incidentally, just before that happened, Charles Leclerc had set the fastest first sector of anybody. And I'm afraid, out of the race, that's one of the Lotus back cars, and it's the number 20 of Dorian Boccolacci. So one of the signature drivers out will become the second retiree. Boccolacci parked up against the barrier as he hit it, or did he just retire and park up there? I think probably some contact. So Boccolacci, the French driver, is out. The car is right on the racing line, and the Lotus F1 Junior driver. Well, it's not the obvious damage, is there, to the car? So maybe he has just had a technical problem and he's pulled off the circuit. So the 16-year-old Boccolacci, who was the top rookie in the French Formula 4 Championship last year, runner-up in that series, stepping up to F3. But there'll be no points for Boccolacci in this one. He hasn't picked up any points so far. His best finish has been a 12th place. So this doesn't affect too much the top three. They were quite close together anyway, but it benches everybody else back up behind them. We're going to find out. Now Rosenqvist finally finds a way past Menezes, but the yellow flags were waving because the safety car had come out, and he acknowledges that. So will he have to now give the place back or incur the wrath of the officials? But he couldn't believe it. He finally got through, and there were yellow flags there waiting for him. So there's Boccolacci's signature car. There's the safety car with Jake Dennis leading the way. Antonio Giovinazzi second, Charles Leclerc third, Max Gunther fourth, Alex Albon in 5th place. The top 5 drivers, 5 different nationalities represented. There are 16 different nationalities out there on the grid. We've got a British driver in the lead, an Italian second, a Monegasque third, a German fourth, and a Thai driver in 5th place. Callum Ilott 6th, Alessio Larandi still 7th, Michael Jensen 8th, George Russell 9th, Brandon Mazzano is still in the points in 10th place, Lance Stroll 11th, Arjun Maini is 12th, Gustavo Menezes 13th, Felix Rosenqvist 14th, and Sergio Sette Camara, the Mexican driver, 15th. Just ahead of another Swedish driver, Gustav Meyer for Motorpark, who is making his debut this weekend. I haven't seen too much of him yet, but he is predominantly here to practice racing around the street circuit, because he's also racing in the Formula Renault Championship World Series by Renault. His next race being at Monaco next weekend, and so he's going to come here and get used to racing around the circuits, street circuits. So the Marshals pushing away that Stricken signature car, with the driver now back on board to help guide it off the track, Dorian Boccolacci, and hopefully it'll be underway very, very soon with the racing again, because that pretty much looks like it's cleared it now. It wasn't parked too far away from one of the access gates, so that was handy actually. Safety car lights still on. All the drivers in communication with the teams, of course. I'll be keeping them posted with exactly what's going on and how likely it is that they'll be getting underway soon. So a respite here, but you've got to stay focused as a driver, keep your mind on it absolutely all times. Maybe an opportunity for somebody like Felix Rosenqvist to try and gain a place here. Still being shown as 13th on the screen, so still being shown ahead of Gustavo Menezes. Had he got the line first. Right, safety car lights are off, and we're going to go racing again very shortly. That's tremendous chicane, great to watch. Huge amount of fans here. I think that's like 26,000 fans here last year for the Po Grand Prix. Right in the middle of the town. Incredible setting for a race circuit, this. And to a driver, everybody I spoke to yesterday loved the place, loved driving around here. Okay, green flags waved. Jake Dennis continues his search for his first race win in the championship. Could be a challenge for 4th place here. Look, Alex Albon trying to pull out of the slipstream and get the place away from the orange Muka Motorsport car of Max Gunther, but he can't quite find a way through. The Red Bull liveries then just behind Callum Ilott, the blue and yellow Van Amersfoort car, the team that ran Max Verstappen to 3rd place in the championship last year. Alessio Larandi, that driver, through Pont Oscar they go. Up now into the right-hander, Lisi Barto. Full lock, first gear through here, almost stopping the cars. It's almost like starting again. So they now sprint flat out, already up to 5th gear by the time they get through this kink at Casino. These 240 brake horsepower Formula 3 cars, then a little lift, 5th gear through this blind corner. We've got another one off, that's one of the Muka Motorsport cars. And I think it's Beretta, number 6, by the looks of things. That's at Pont Oscar, just locked up, went straight on, nosed into the barrier, all on his own. And will we see another safety car again already? Green flags at the moment. Jake Dennis has held on to the lead of the race. Giovinazzi in 2nd place, 3rd place still Leclerc. So no changes up amongst the front runners. And the safety car is coming back out. It was a brief respite for the safety car driver. Well, I fancy he's going to be busy this weekend. say, there were quite a few Formula 3 cars on the back of trucks coming back after qualifying yesterday. And in the other categories that are racing here this weekend as well. Formula 4, Formula Renault. Lots of cars looking a bit second-hand when they came back after their various practice and qualifying sessions yesterday, because there is no room for error. You know, in the modern-day circuits, even the historic circuits that have been modernised, like Silverstone and Spa, Cops Corner at Silverstone, you make a mistake there and run wide, you've got about 50 metres of runoff area. You don't go into gravel anymore, you don't go into the barriers. Pouon and Spa, it's the same thing there. You can make a mistake, you can run wide, lose half a second, but your race is still going, you don't end of the race. Here, you make a mistake, bang, you're in the barriers, your car is broken and you are out. But you've got to be on the knife edge. Somebody else carrying damage there is Gustav Malja, the Swedish driver I was talking about, who's come in to this race to practice ahead of his debut in the Formula Renault Championship at Monaco. Not his debut in the Championship, but his debut at Monaco in the Championship, Formula Renault Championship next weekend. Former Swedish karting champion. Doing okay though, holding his own, bearing in mind he's new to the type of car, new to the circuit, in the midfield, carrying damage, but determined not to go to the pits by the looks of things. Looks like Felix Rosenqvist held on to that in third place. The car's under investigation, it says on the screen. Guess which ones? Numbers 4 and 1, Gustavo Meneses and Felix Rosenqvist. So he's been investigated, and I'm assuming it's for this potential yellow flag infringement. But it's up to the officials to decide if Felix Rosenqvist was already alongside, was already in front when he got there, or whether he should have given the place back. They will look at the evidence and they will make the decision. So hard to get your flow back here as a driver. Having just done 12 or 13 laps, then a safety car, then firing yourself up again, focusing on the race, and then the safety car straight back out. There is Michele Beretta's car, damage to the front right, to the front wing after he locked up at Pont Oscar and went off the road, the Italian driver. Raced for the Euro international team last year. His best results in the season, he didn't get them the points at all last year, but his best result was here at Po actually, a 12th place finish. Switched to the Muka Motorsport team, who of course ran Felix Rosenqvist for a number of years, ran Lucas Auer in the championship last year as well. I'm sure to the immense frustration of Felix Rosenqvist, he's never quite had the funding to move on from Formula 3 yet, but he's seen the likes of people he's beaten fair and square in races move on to other things. So we've got Tom Blomqvist, who's moved into the DTM now, Lucas Auer in the DTM as well. Both of them made their debuts at Hockenheim a couple of weekends ago. No points for them yet. Tom racing for BMW, Lucas racing for Mercedes. Esteban Ocon, of course, has moved on to GP3, leading the championship in that one. So too is Antonio Cuoco. A couple of drivers moving into Formula Renault, like Sean Galal, and son of fellow called Max Verstappen, who has moved into Formula 1, I believe, and he's already making a name for himself in qualifying and in the races. The car hasn't quite had the reliability you'd like yet, but he's shown pretty much every time so far this season that he's mixed it with the big boys, as we knew he would. So, green flag is waved. We're going to go racing again. Back to speed we will go. And is anybody going to try and make a move here while they're all bunched up together? Through there you go then. Jake Dennis looks like he's got the perfect restart. Giovinazzi was trying to just put him off though, weaving around in his mirrors, just trying to make him make a mistake, force him into a mistake if he can. Charles Leclerc still there in third place. Max Gunther in the first of the Muka Motorsport cars. The orange machine there in fourth place. Still in fifth is Alex Albon. Calamillo in sixth place. The top two are not rookies, but everybody else in the top 10 are rookies. So Charles Leclerc, Max Gunther and Alex Albon, the top three rookies in fourth, fifth and sixth. Larandi getting a tag there at the back and almost losing it and getting bunched up, and that was very close indeed. That Callum Ilott who was caught up in that as well. And was he able to recover it? Had a huge tank slapper on. I think it was a tank that caused it. Assuming they come through, if they're in the same order. And we saw damage to that car, didn't we? Gustav Malja into the pits, finally calling it a day, I think, or at least for the time being. Thumping over the curves then, coming towards the end of the lap after that long run downhill. And then come back to the start and finish line. The only notable straight on the whole course, really, at the end of the lap. Some green flags waving. And the double R racing car, it is into the pits. Or off the circuit, actually. So it wasn't a Randy, it was a double R racing machine of Nick Pola, I think. Just got the back end of that. They've certainly split away a little bit, the top five, haven't they, from everybody else? And the Randy up to 6. Yeah, it's Callum Ilott who I thought it was. Callum Ilott is the one that's dropped down the order. And it was perhaps then the Randy that he was getting a bit too close to comfort with. Good to see a replay of that, but Callum Ilott has dropped down to 10th place now, so the Randy's up to 6th, Jensen's up to 7th, George Russell is up to 8th, Lance Stroll is up to 9th. Callum Ilott's in the points still, but down in 10th place, losing a handful of places there. Brandon Mazzano is 11th, Arjun Maini is 12th, Felix Rosenquist is still 13th. Cars 6 and 20 under investigation. Report to the stewards. That's Michele Beretta, who's out of the race, and Dorian Bacalacci, who's out of the race. So they can go to the stewards and discuss something that the officials weren't too happy with, presumably to do with the way they the procedure after they dropped out of the race, and perhaps to do with taking the steering wheel out of the car. Well, we'll see. Anyway, they're going to have a talking to. The double R racing machine is pushed away of Nick Pola. Had a bit of a difficult season so far. Jake Dennis has built back up then a half-second lead over Giovinazzi. Leclerc is about 1.5 seconds back in third now, curiously dropping away here. The closer you get to the tail of the car ahead, the more you pick up the dirty air from the airflow of these cars, which have huge amounts of downforce. And the front of your car will start sliding around. Giovinazzi's going for it, isn't he, here? Hanging on to Jake Dennis, knowing perhaps that Jake hasn't won a race in this category yet, trying to put the pressure on Antonio Giovinazzi. He's staying close to him, but he's also conscious that you don't have to go and win every race. Esteban Ocon drove like that last year, and he couldn't win a race, just made sure he got good points or a podium finish. Giovinazzi's done that in every race so far. His record reads second, third, second, first, third, third so far this season, and he's in second place again here. This is why he's the championship leader. Charles Leclerc has been on the podium 5 times out of 6. The only time he wasn't was the first round of the championship at Silverstone, where he had an early collision with George Russell. They both dropped to the back of the field. Leclerc had a puncture as well, had to go to the pits. He fought back to 12th place, which was a good comeback, but he didn't get in the points. George Russell had a tremendous drive and did get into the points from the pretty much the back of the field. But other than that blip, Leclerc has been in the podium every single time. But usually, as I say, only one driver has been in the points every single race. That's Giovinazzi. There's a glimpse of the Red Bull colours of Callum Ilott. He's still in 10th place. Still looks like the car's going well. And trying to find a way past Lance Stroll now. Brandon Mazzano right behind him as well. So he's in a Prema Power Team sandwich at the moment. Callum Ilott, the Carlin back driver. 2 Mercedes-powered cars around him. He's in the VW-powered Carlin car. Doing a very good job, the 16-year-old. Not just his first season in F3, but his first season in cars of any kind. Trying to get in the points. Did contest like a number of them actually, the Toyota Racing Series in New Zealand over the winter. Not as powerful, not as much downforce as these cars, but certainly a good way to practice and get yourself set up over the winter. Lance Stroll in fact won that championship. These two had a bit of racing together over the winter before they came into F3. Getting towards the final quarter of the race now. Jake Dennis controlling things. Looks like Charles Leclerc's caught back up a little bit. Yeah, and there's nothing between them. The last lap times are 1:11.053 for Dennis and 1:11.048 for Giovinazzi. 1:11.021, fractionally quicker from Charles Leclerc. But they're all lapping, all three of them lapping almost identical times, all within a few hundredths of a second of each other. Jake Dennis has not put a wheel wrong so far. And he hasn't given them a glimpse, has he? Hooked up the start beautifully. He's controlled the restarts, 2 of them now, no problem. And 1 or 2 moments where Giovinazzi's got quite close to him, but not really having a go yet. Over the start-finish line they go once again into La Gare. And another retirement? Maybe not. Trying to get going again. It's Matt Solomon, Hong Kong-based driver for Double R Racing, and already lost one car in this race. Looks like he shot off the road down the escape road, and will be able to get going once again. And here we go, is George Russell, who's not scared to have a go at anybody, as we saw at Silverstone, trying to find his way through here, trying to get past Mikkel Jensen, but he's got to be careful not to give his own place up here to Lance Stroll, who is trying to fight around the outside of him now as they go wheel to wheel on the way into Pont Oscar, but George Russell just about fends off the Canadian there. So George Russell, you've got to be careful, haven't you? If you have a go and it doesn't work out, you have to back off the throttle just for a fraction of a second. You can guarantee there'll be somebody queued up behind you, ready to jump in and steal your place away. But George doing well there, positioning the car in the right place so as not to gift an opportunity. And this is why we saw Matt Solomon off the road. Thumped the curbs a bit too hard through the chicane there. Gustav Malja still in the pits, but still in the car as well, hoping to get back out and just do a couple of laps if he can to test things out. Not sure we're going to get all the laps in here with the safety car, because we're down to the final 4 minutes, so it's a 35-minute time restriction. I don't think we're quite going to get the full race distance in here, but that's not totally unusual for the Pau Grand Prix. So 3.5 minutes to go for Jake Dennis, looking for his maiden victory. He's had 5 podiums in the championship so far, 3 last year and 2 this season. Both coming at Silverstone. Difficult weekend at Hockenheim, set about by a disappointing qualifying session. He's come out all guns blazing here. He's controlled things beautifully from the front of the field. Can he join Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Rosenqvist and Russell as race winners this year? That'll be 5 winners from 7 races. Showing you how alive this championship is going to be this season. Once again, how difficult to predict. It's not just about winning races. 11 rounds, so 33 point scoring races. You don't drop any scores, you count all of them towards your total. Giovinazzi knows that. So too, it seems, does Leclerc. They haven't done anything silly here. 2 minutes 42 seconds to go, so they should have time for 3 more laps, including the one they've just started. It's the lap into the low 1 minute 11s. On that lap, Leclerc was a bit quicker than Giovinazzi, and Giovinazzi was a bit quicker than Dennis. So the gaps have closed down again. There's only 1.3 seconds between the 3 of them now. And Leclerc there just flashing through shot. He's very much on the tail, isn't he, of Giovinazzi. Both of them pulled off a couple of good moves at Hockenheim to get positions and leads of races. Giovinazzi in the first race, Leclerc in the 3rd race, both of them on Felix Rosenqvist, who incidentally back down to 14th place now. Did he give the place back? Cars 1 and 4 change position here. I think they've been told to give the place back anyway. 13th, 14th, doesn't really matter, does it? He's not going to pick up any points, but it doesn't look like he's going to get penalised as such. So he has had to give the place back. But 14th, no good to him. 13th wasn't really. Here they go. Clip the curb once again. Continuing to run downhill right past the front door, the back door of people's houses, past their gardens. And to start another lap, yeah, there will be time to 2 more laps, should be. Look how much gap they've got already. It's only been about 5 minutes since the restart, and well clear of that battle for 4th place between Gunther and Albon. Lorandi in 6th, there is Mikkel Jensen in 7th. The dark blue colour scheme of George Russell in 8th, Lance Stroll still 9th, Brendan Mazzano still 10th. Because down to 11th has gone Callum Ilott, so he's out of the points now, I'm afraid. There are the top 3 then. Making their way to the right-hander, Elise Barto. And then through the left-hand king, up to Park Beaumont. So a drop downhill again through Foch, through a sequence of S-bends taken in 3rd gear. So this mighty quick corner at Park Beaumont. And 190k through there, thudding the curbs, but deliberately so at top 3. Sam McLeod looks like he's going to be a late retiree from the race, I'm afraid. He's in the points anyway, another difficult race, but it looks like he's got decent pace here and could challenge for points later in the weekend with better grid positions for races 2 and 3. Here we go then. Jake Dennis, Antonio Giovinazzi, Charles Leclerc, the top 3 in a league of their own here so far this weekend. Nobody else anywhere in sight. 20 seconds to go. We're over the line to start what will be the final lap of the race. 4th, 5th and 6th have spread out a little bit now as well. Alex Albon just dropping away from the tail of Maximilian Gunther. It looks like he is going to pick up a Another top 5 finish. He's 4th on the spin here. So Gunther picking up the points as well from Mick Motorsport. He seems to have a competitive car again once again this season. And we had a difficult year last year, particularly for Felix Rosenqvist. Look at Leclerc again. He's right to the tail of Giovinazzi going into the corner, but the Italian is quick on the exit. And it is around some of the corners here very much about the exit, particularly Le Gare, where you have this huge uphill climb up towards Mont Oscar. Through they whip then, quick as you like, now beginning the descent in the second half of the lap. What is the final lap of the race? The clock is now down to 0 seconds. So the 35-minute time limit is up, and Jake Dennis has just got to stay focused for a couple more twists and turns of this street circuit here in the Pyrenees. He was on the podium here last year. He's been on the podium 5 times. He's not worried about second. He's gone straight from 3rd, it looks like, to the top of the podium. Can he win? Yes, he can. Jake Dennis takes his maiden victory in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. He is a race winner. Excellent drive, controlled all the way. Antonio Giovinazzi with a super start to get ahead of Charles Leclerc and stayed 2nd for the rest of the race. Charles Leclerc in 3rd, picking up more points though, and another podium. That's his 6th on the spin. So that'll keep him right up there in the championship fight, but the gap will grow slightly between Giovinazzi and Leclerc at the top of the standings. Maximilian Gunther has taken 4th, and Giovinazzi, who's one of the nicest men in the paddock, gives a thumbs up there and a wave to Jake Dennis. The 18-year-old from Nuneaton is now a race winner at one of the highest levels of single-seater racing you can find. The super competitive Formula 3 European Championship. Dennis wins, Giovinazzi 2nd, Leclerc 3rd, Gunther 4th, Albon impressing again in 5th place, Lorandi 6th, Jensen again good points for him in 7th place, George Russell 8th, Lance Stroll 9th, Brandon Mazzano 10th, Callum Ilott in the unfortunate 11th place there, just ahead of Arjun Maini. Those two missing out on points. Felix Rosenqvist 13th because Menezes dropped back in the end, for what that's worth. Seti Kamara 14th, Menezes 15th, Raul Hyman, South Africa, in 16th place. So the margin of victory in the end was 0.6 of a second, but of course the safety car bunched them up a few times, waving to the crowd. He's going to have the biggest grin on his face when he gets out of the car. Well, I'm sure he's got the biggest grin on his face now, we just can't see it. But he was chuffed to bits with his pole positions yesterday, thanking his new team, Kramer, for all the effort they've put in. It's a great team. It's a team that have won the last 2 championships. Teams and drivers last year, not the year before that with Raffaele Marciello versus in GP2. We've got a race winner once again here, Jake Dennis, gunning for the title. That's a big thing ticked off his list now. We knew he could compete, we knew he could be on the podium, but he's taken that big giant leap now to becoming a race winner, and it might not be the only time he does it this weekend, because of course he's on pole for races 2 and 3. He knows what to do now. Fantastic stuff. Our top 3 rookies were 3rd, 4th and 5th. Charles Leclerc, Maximilian Gunther and Alex Albon, so they will be on the podium as well. And here he is, calmly stepping out of the car, clenching his fist. Winner, it says, Jake Dennis. And the tall British driver, backed by Racing Steps Foundation. The Italian team, Prema Power team. Don't know how the Italians coming on, but they're obviously communicating pretty well to each other. And it's another win for the Mercedes engine cars as well. Fantastic stuff from Jake Dennis. I didn't see, I mean, I've got telemetry in front of me, but I didn't see a single mistake from him. Not once did he get out of shape, not once did he leave the door open. And not once did he look like somebody who hadn't led a Formula 3 race before. And won one. Right, we get to see his big grin now, I think. That's pretty calm, actually, doesn't he? This is where he wants to be, though. This is the goal. And he doesn't want it to be a one-off. He wants it to be the first of many. Shakes his head. It was nice to see after he got pole yesterday as well. Lots of his old team. There you go. There's one of them. Carlin, who he raced for last year, were very much behind him and clapping and applauding him and cheering him on, saying how proud they were of him. So that was really nice to see, even though he switched teams, that they're still... Round 7 at the FIA highlights of the race now then. Well, look at the start from the yellow Gigonia IAM car of Giovinazzi. Antonio brought it up brilliantly there. Got the inside line for the run into the car. You've got to take a tight line through there because it's an off-camber corner. So hook yourself into the groove and whip yourself through the corner, and he got a great start. there was that entanglement there which damaged Ferrucci's car, and the first of several drivers to make contact with the barriers in the race. Jake Dennis holding things at the front of the field. Giovinazzi and Leclerc never really let him out of their sights, but never really had the chance to get alongside either. And yeah, another look at that move. Schiller was on the outside, McLeod was on the inside, and then he had to turn into the corner at some point, I suppose, Fabian Schiller, but I just don't think he saw McLeod there. McLeod will argue that he got the line and he got the move done. And there was the contact with the barriers for Dorian Bacalacci. That put him out of the race, the signature driver. And then too much curve here, and losing balance of the car for Matt Solomon. But just kissed the back end of the car into the barriers and was able to continue. And the checkered flag and a first win for Jake Dennis in this championship. So he'll be making his way up to the podium now. There it is. And we'll have 2 podiums as ever in the championship. There will be 1 for the overall top 3, plus the winning team. There will be a second podium for our top 3 rookies as well, which will be Leclerc, Gunther and Albon. So, good start to the season for Jake Dennis. 1 retirement at Silverstone. 1 points finish at Hockenheim. He's been in the points 4 times. 2 podiums at Silverstone, where he really struggled at the start of last year. 4th in the standings, but with lots of points to make up. As I say, sort of half the points of the driver, Felix Rosenqvist, in 3rd place, but of course, he's just picked up 25. Felix Rosenqvist hasn't picked up any. There's Charles Leclerc putting on his cap there, and who provide all the tyres for the championship. In the background there, Antonio Giovinazzi continues this tremendous run. Had some damage to his chassis, a problem with the chassis in the first half of last season, which they picked up upon, and once they sorted that out, the second half of last year he flew, got a couple of wins, 3 other podiums in the last 10 races of the championship. So Giovinazzi starting like a train this year, leading the way. 7 races, 7 podiums, just the 1 win, but he's banging in the points. Confirmation once again of the results. Jake Dennis for Prema Power Team, Antonio Giovinazzi for Chigonia I Am with Carlin, and Charles Leclerc for Van Amersfoort Racing. Top 3, so Mercedes powered car, 2 VW powered cars. Max Gunther 4th, Alexander 5th, Lorandi 6th, Nicky Jensen, George Russell, Lance Stroll, and Brendan Mazzano also in the points. And they're those that missed out on the points. 1 or 2 of them with issues, 1 or 2 of them just stuck in traffic after disappointing qualifying sessions. Notably, of course, Felix Rosenqvist, who should still be 3rd of the championship, but only by a few points now, from that man, Jake Dennis, who stands atop the podium. Big smiles from Giovinazzi, and there's Leclerc to join our race winner on the podium. And we'll now get the national anthem from Jake Dennis. Sort of almost a sigh of relief, and soaking it up and almost not quite believing it, but knowing also that he deserved it. Marc Bodat, the communication director of Total, presents the first place trophy to Jake Dennis here at Pau, the first race of the weekend. Our winning team, of course, it's Prema Power Team, and Eric Sobat, the sports representative of Pau, presents that trophy. Eric Reverberi, the sports director of Total, presents the trophy to our 2nd place driver, Charles Leclerc. Shakes hands with the rest. And Jean Alesi, the former Formula 1 driver who won here at Pau in Formula 3000, he's going to come up onto the stage as well. There he is, 50 years old these days. His son Giuliano, perhaps another famous son of a racing driver, because he started racing in Formula 4 now. Winner of the 1995 Canadian Grand Prix, Jean Alesi, for Ferrari. His only race victory in Formula 1, but he made it on the podium 32 times. It's great to have Jean Alesi here. And there are the trophies, and three very happy drivers, but also sensing that in a few hours' time they've got another race to come, and the big one, of course, tomorrow. So, Jake Dennis, for the first time in his Formula 3 career, it's only his second season, don't forget, perhaps slightly overshadowed by one or two of the other top star rookies last year, Antonio Ocon and Verstappen. But when you look at the balance of his season last year, it was a very good one, and it's no surprise to see him up there battling for the overall championship now, it would seem, here at Pau. So very well done to our top three. They'll clear the podium, and we'll then have our rookie podium. Antonio Giovinazzi's never one to shy away from attacking the team with champagne and chucking bottles at them. So there's our winning team with their winning driver. Top stuff. And what's most impressive is how comfortable he looked in the lead of the race. Didn't tighten up towards the end, he didn't tighten up on the restarts. It was the start, I suppose. He had a couple of iffy starts, as I say, this year, where there was the most pressure on him. But once he got that off the line, no problem at all. For others, particularly if you're in that midfield, particularly with a huge grid of 36 cars, it's a bit of a battle out there to try and work your way through. Not much room, and certainly no room for error. If you did get through, you still always weren't able to avoid contact. So look at one or two of the disappointed faces, disappointed teams now, with cars to rebuild in a few hours before the second race this afternoon. No problems for this man, though. Jake Dennis. Let's see just what that meant to him. So, although he didn't win the race, he's the top rookie in third place. Charles Leclerc back onto the podium as our rookie winner. To the left, Maximilian Gunther. To the right of your picture, Alex Albon with more good points, also impressing once again, as he did very much so at Silverstone. So those are top three rookies, all of them in the points, all three of them in the top five in the race, third, fourth and fifth respectively. So the first place trophy got Marc Badeau, the communication director from Total, presents that very splendid trophy to Charles Leclerc. Should then have Eric Reverbery, the sports director of Total, to present that second place trophy. In the rookies, to Max Gunther, he also is impressing with some good performances so far this season. And there's Jean Alesi presenting the trophy. Raced for Tyrrell, Benetton, Sauber, Prost, Jordan, and Ferrari most famously, of course, in a 12-year Formula 1 career from 1989 to 2001. And Jean Alesi presenting the trophies to our top three rookies. Got it all to do again, of course, later on this afternoon. It'll be another great race around the streets of Pau here, this fabulous location in the Pyrenees. Once you find your way around, which isn't easy, it's a great circuit, very accessible as well, because it's quite a small circuit. Very easy for spectators to see the cars at various points attacking. One-handed champagne spray from Charles Leclerc. I'm not entirely sure that he meant to do that. But anyway, off the podium he goes. He wants to win races. He'll be fairly satisfied, I think, with the way that went. So that's just about it for the first race. We'll be back here in Pau with more action later on this afternoon. From me, Chris Hartley, thanks for watching. Bye for now.